Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in Hollywood, California. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege to have you guys, my fellow film fans, joining us here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, a little bit of television, some other things along the way. And, of course, joining me today is Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
You know, it's my first time, I think, on a Tuesday morning talk show.
It's the first time you're here, but you were available today, came on in, joined us again.
So much fun. There's so much good stuff to talk about today.
We have a hell of a lot of stuff to talk about today. So let's not waste any time and go right off the top with this. One of my maybe top 5, easily top 10 favorite comedies of all time is Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
As it should be.
It is so damn funny. Like, that is a movie that just never ceases to be hilarious and fun and funny and all that kind of stuff, and I can watch it all day long. The character is amazing. However, the second one was good. I liked the second Anchorman. Nowhere near as special as the first. But what has now come out is Deadline has reported that Ron Burgundy is coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Will Ferrell has signed a deal to come back and do a Ron Burgundy podcast. And podcasts are great. He will do as Ron Burgundy. Ron Burgundy will have a podcast. He's signed for 2 12-episode seasons. Now, I got to admit, I'm a little unclear whether it's 12 episodes over 2 seasons and it's 6 episodes a season, or whether it's 12 episodes per season, but whatever. 2 seasons, minimum 12 episodes coming. This notion of now taking and moving a beloved movie character from the screen into now a different kind of a realm, podcasting as the character. This is something I'm shocked hasn't been done more of in the past. Look, I know I am dying to listen to this thing. It's supposed to launch in 2019. What do you think about this?
I think it's a great, I always say we live in interesting times. It's this kind of out-of-the-box thinking that I love. I mean, I can't decide whether I'd want him to have real guests, kind of like what Stephen Colbert used to do on his show. Or what if you got fictional characters from other movies to come on the show, like Russell Brand doing All This Snow from Get Him to the Greek and Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Right. So you've got but I'm sure that's a right nightmare.
Get Adam Driver as Kylo Ren.
How funny would that be?
The nice thing about it, when you're doing it as a fictitious character,
right,
it really means there's literally no limit to what you can do. You want to interview a sitting president? You can do that.
Right.
You want to interview a fictional character? You can do that, because it's Ron Burgundy. He's not really real anyway.
No, I mean, Kurt Russell is Snake Plissken. It's 20 years after Escape from New York. What's he doing now?
Because
Ron Burgundy can tell you.
This reminds me a little bit. There's a web series, and I don't even know if he's still doing them or not, but Zach Galifianakis did Between Two Ferns.
Right.
And one of the funniest things you will ever see on the internet, 2 ones. One, his interview with Barack Obama, which is crazy. But the other one, which is completely, I'm just thinking about some of the things he said in it, is Between Two Ferns with him and Bruce Willis. The one he did with Bruce Willis is just when he refers to Ashton Kutcher as one of his children.
Yeah.
It is amazing. But anyway, this Ron Burgundy thing, I think it has that kind of potential, only more so because of the character.
Right.
So,
yeah, I'm deliriously excited. I keep saying I'm deliriously excited for things, but this is something that I am very excited for.
It's original, it's different, and let's see how this all turns out. So mark me down as being completely down for this. All right, let's move on now to our main topics today. How do we select our main topics here? Well, it's really simple. You guys select them by emailing me your topics and questions anytime to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That email address is john@thejohncampeashow.com. Please put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. Let's go on now to the first email today. And our first email today comes to us from one of our Patreon supporters, Anonymous. Thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter, Anonymous. Well, the same week Warner Brother announces the first Latino-led superhero film in The Blue Beetle, Marvel now announces they're developing the first Asian-led superhero film in a Dave Callahan-written Shang-Chi, according to Deadline. What are your thoughts? Robert, they come out with this. Probably a lot of people have never even heard of Shang-Chi. First of all, tell us a little bit about Shang-Chi and what are your thoughts about them doing a movie? Is this a character worth doing a movie on?
Okay. I love Shang-Chi. Now, I discovered Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi basically debuted in 1973.
Right.
And written by Steve Englehart and drawn by Jim Starlin, who created Thanos.
Right.
Now, I came to Shang-Chi a little later. Doug Mensch, who also wrote Moon Knight, and Moon Knight was my jam.
It still is your jam.
Yes,
let's not fool anybody.
I love
it's
Moon
still
Knight.
your jam.
So Doug Mensch led me to Shang-Chi. Now, Shang-Chi, what's really interesting about Shang-Chi is he was an offshoot of the Fu Manchu novels. And in the original incarnation of Shang-Chi, Fu Manchu was his dad. That they've had to retcon because Marvel lost the rights to use
the
Fu Manchu novels. But Shang-Chi was an Avenger. Shang-Chi doesn't have superpowers. He's a master martial artist. He knows weapons. He knows guns. He did develop the power to create a lot of duplicates of himself later, which is a little wacky. But there's a great 10-year run of Shang-Chi comics that Marvel has collected into an omnibus. But for me, the Doug Mensch and Paul Gulacy drew that character. Now, I think it's a great addition to the Marvel universe. He would be perfect to be introduced in the Black Widow movie. Because he's more of that kind of. I'm sure Black Widow knows Shang-Chi.
Right.
And I can't wait. But people have been saying, Donnie Yen should play Shang-Chi. But Donnie Yen's 55 now.
I was going to say, they'd probably want to go younger.
Yeah, they got to go
younger.
But they need somebody. They need the Donnie Yen now. Who's the 30-year-old Donnie Yen?
Well, I'll tell you what. They're about to create the third.
Right.
Because whoever they cast in this will be this new generation's Jet Li, Donnie Yen, that sort of thing. Because I remember when Jet Li came on the scene, at least for North Americans. Jet Li has been on the scene for a long time for a lot of different people, but when he came on the scene with Lethal Weapon 4, I believe it was 4 that he made his debut in, that really introduced him a lot to the big audiences, and then he became to North American audiences Jet Li.
Right.
And I think whatever they do with Shang-Chi here is, but look, this is a brilliant move on several different levels.
Absolutely.
Let's look at it from like just the business point of view. Like we talked about this a little bit with doing a Blue Beetle and bringing Jaime Ramirez to the screen, right? You're talking about a demographic, the Hispanic Latino demographic represents almost 1 out of every 4 movie tickets that get sold.
Yes.
And to not have that demographic represented in their own lead film, a character having their own lead film of that seems kind of crazy, and that's a really good move. The Asian population, the Asian demographic that goes to the movies in this country is crazy. And the fact that we had like 18, I think it was 18 films that the MCU had before they finally did Black Panther. It was either 17 or 18 films in a row before they finally got around to Black Panther. And what did they have? They had 17 films in a row led by one demographic. Caucasian white male leads. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But it just kind of emphasizes the fact that now it's time to branch out from that a little bit. Like, we're still going to get our Caucasian white male lead superhero films. Make no mistake, that's still going to happen. But I mean, it's time to start branching out from there. And what they're now doing is that they're looking at this incredible success that Black Panther had. Number one, because they made it a good movie. That's the most important. Nothing else matters if you don't start with a good movie.
Cast well written, a great director.
Bring in a good director. Like, give it the care and concern. Don't go, let's just make a movie with a black lead character and it'll be great. No, they made sure they got a good script. They got a great director, great cast. They put time and attention into it. They made a great movie, and then they could parlay that into the great business sense by having wider appeal to more moviegoers. And if they can recapture that again, make sure they bring on a really great director. Make sure they cast it well. Give it the time and attention that they gave to Black Panther, or that they gave to Iron Man, or that they gave to Thor. And this could be huge. I'm not necessarily saying it's $1 billion film immediately, but I'm saying it's going to be $1 billion film immediately, like right off the top of my head.
Well, it's James Bond meets Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, Shang-Chi sort of was created Bruce Lee Game of Death era. And the same way
he was created because Bruce Lee was the hot thing at the time.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I think you could bring in a great Chinese film director or a great Hong Kong director, somebody who's working within the Chinese film industry, maybe, to do one of those incredible,
and
wire work martial arts.
Because of the nature of the character, we've been talking a little bit about movies that can transcend just the comic book genre. You have a great opportunity not just to make a great new comic book movie, a great movie that has an Asian actor as the lead and our lead hero. You have the opportunity right now to revitalize the Kung Fu genre, man. It is time. It is time to bring back the Kung Fu genre. And you could, because of the nature of who the character is and his story, his father is the devil's doctor. Is that we refer to as his dad?
Yeah.
The devil's doctor, kept raised, confined in this one little area, never seeing the outside world. All he did all day is train Kung Fu all day. And now he goes sent out in the world to carry out some badass stuff.
Well, yeah.
Come on.
It's also tied into Iron Fist. Because Kunlun, the city is where they were. That's a mystical city that's sometimes on the earth, but sometimes not. I mean, I really think that, look, I know that they're going to want to get an Asian director, but if they wanted to go a different way, Gareth Evans, who directed The Raid, or as I like to say, The Rad, and The Rad 2, Even Radder. I mean, those are...
The Rad 2, Even Radder.
Even Radder.
I love it.
Those films, The Raid is on Netflix. I can't get enough of those movies. Talk about martial arts, man. I would love to see James Bond meets Shang-Chi with Black Widow. I mean, you could literally introduce Shang-Chi in the Black Widow movie.
And then roll that in the way they introduced Black Panther in Civil War.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they've already thought that up. That they've made that a part of, because that would be, in Black Widow's globe trotting, she's probably going to come across Shang-Chi as her contact in Asia.
Well, remember, she had exposure to Winter Soldier. And they have a big open window there that they can take advantage of. Absolutely.
And Shang-Chi was an Avenger at one point.
Yep.
So.
All right, let's move on to the next topic.
I'm excited.
What's up next?
What is up next? Well, it's reviewer emails now.
Yes.
Well, that's right. Well, here we are. Marvel. Brian Knight says, I am interested in this year's CW crossover episodes, but I have only watched the first season of Supergirl, half of season 2, and none of Flash or Arrow. Can I watch this crossover without watching previous shows or seasons of Supergirl, Flash, or Arrow, or any other crossover franchise? I don't know, John, what do you think?
Yeah, here's the interesting thing. Because I have watched all right from Arrow season 1. I've watched this whole Arrowverse thing that they've had. Some of it is great. Some of it sucks. But I mean, hey, that's life, right? And so I've always watched all of them. And then when they've done their crossovers, I have the benefit of knowing the previous stuff.
Right.
But you know what? When you look back at Crisis on Earth X, really? I don't think you need to have a background in watching this CD. Again, we're going back just to Crisis on Earth X, which was last year's crossover stuff. I think it's one of those scenarios where, and we say this about a bunch of stuff, like with Mary Poppins. I think even if you've never seen the original Mary Poppins, which shame on you if you haven't seen the original Mary Poppins, but if you haven't, I think you'd be able to walk into this new Mary Poppins and completely understand what's going on. It would benefit probably and give you a little bit of a deeper appreciation if you had watched the previous one, but I don't think it's a prerequisite. And as I look back to Crisis on Earth X, if I'm remembering it correctly, I go, you know what? Yeah, you probably could have walked in cold on that. Because here's the thing. When you have an event like this on television, not only are you doing it for your existing fan base, you use these big events and these crossovers to try to get some attention from maybe people who haven't watched it before. So you have to make sure you do it in such a way that they're not going to feel lost the moment they start watching it, right? So I have a feeling that's what it's going to be. I have a feeling you're going to be to come in, watch it totally cold. But if you are watching the shows, you get a little bit of a deeper appreciation, but I think you'll be fine. How do you think they're going to handle that?
Well, I kind of have a theory about this kind of thing. And it's kind of my pop culture character theory, I guess. I think that our society, if you live in our society, and we all do, we have a working knowledge of these characters simply through osmosis.
That's true.
You understand who Flash is, whether you watched it as a kid in some animated series. You know who Supergirl is. You have enough understanding of these characters just by growing up and living in our culture to know what kind of characters they are. It's kind of like I pick up comic books I've never read before, like issue 178. Sometimes I'll pick up a comic that I've never read, but I know enough about how these characters work, the archetypes that are being portrayed, that you get it. Like, nothing's ever going to stop me. I'm not going to ever go, well, there's 4 seasons of this show. I have to go back to the beginning. If I watched an episode from the 4th season and it's good, I'm like, I want to find out more about this character. Because I'll know, we all know storytelling. There's only, 7 stories in the world? Never let that prevent you from watching something like this kind of an event. Because, look, if it's good, look at how much great stuff you get to go back and watch.
I love what you said there, knowledge by osmosis, because there are, as completely odd as it is to conceive, there are people out there who've never seen Star Wars.
Right.
But they know who Darth Vader is. Yeah. And they know Darth Vader is Luke's father. Right, and yet they've never seen the thing, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I'm completely on board with you. I think you'll be able to walk in and watch this. Now, we haven't seen Elseworld yet. The most recent episode of Supergirl gave us our first preview of Elseworld. It starts with Earth 90 and the original Flash, the original guy who played, what's his name again? Ship.
John Wesley Shipp.
John Wesley Shipp. Just basically about to die. Go, oh, why are you doing this? And all these dead superheroes around. It's like, ooh, it's called Earth 90. So, but I think you're going to be able to walk right in and you'll be just fine. Hopefully they don't prove me wrong. All right, let's move on now to the third email today. And our third email today comes to us from, speaking of the Flash, Jay. And Jay writes, greetings and salutations, John. As I'm sure you already know, the great Al Pacino will be starring in 2 highly profiled and highly anticipated films in 2019. Martin Scorsese's The Irishman and Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Do you think next year will be the big comeback of the legendary actor we have all been waiting for? Robert, is 2019 the year of the Al Pacino comeback?
Does Al Pacino need a comeback?
That's a good question.
I mean, here's the thing. I can understand. He's done a lot of not so great films.
Oh, him and Robert De Niro both.
But Al Pacino is one of the kings of acting. First of all, he's Michael Corleone, and that alone cements him into cinema history.
Yep.
They remastered Heat. Heat came out again on Blu-ray. Stunning transfer. Scent of a Woman. I mean, he's got Bobby Deerfield. There's one for you. I love
Scarface.
I like Scarface. There's the De Palma documentaries on Netflix, and I watch that. It's good. And Justice for All, Norman Jewison's and Justice for All. You're out of order. The whole court is out of order. Any Given Sunday. I mean, Al Pacino, in every decade he's worked. Panic in Needle Park. You can find a great Al Pacino performance. Even in this, the last, I'm sure there is. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But to me, Al Pacino doesn't need to come back. He's already here.
Yeah, he's never left.
Never left.
I mean, to quote the Shakespearean poet LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Like, Al Pacino's never gone anywhere. And look, Irishman, I don't know how highly anticipated it is. I mean, it is something they tried to get going in the studio systems. All the studios rejected it. But I don't think it's because they thought the movie looked like crap. Right. I think they rejected it because it looked like the movie would flop. And you know what? It probably would. I mean, the last time, what was that movie when they find the big hype? Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, they were both in Heat,
like
but they had no
scenes.
Yeah, so one they did with 50 Cent.
Oh.
Or not right. I think it was called Righteous
Maybe
Kill.
It was
actually.
right. Yeah.
Anyway, that movie was a total financial disaster, right? And so I think the studios looked at this and didn't necessarily think it was a bad film, The Irishman. They just looked at it and thought, this is not a movie that'll make any money. We're going to lose money if we make this thing. So Netflix picked it up. As far as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I'm so excited about that. I mean, you're talking about a movie with Brad Pitt, with Leonardo DiCaprio, and then with this incredible who's who of supporting characters all throughout, not the least of which Al Pacino. It's massive. Now, you just ran off this great laundry list of Al Pacino films, but I'm going to tell you what, my favorite, not favorite Al Pacino movie, that's always going to be Godfather, obviously, but my favorite Al Pacino performance of all time. You want to watch a guy put on an acting clinic? It's this little film, I believe it's either 2004, 2005, something like that he does with Jeremy Irons and Joseph Fiennes, who's a totally underrated actor, by the way, brother of Ralph Fiennes, or as you know him better as
Shakespeare
Voldemort.
in Love.
That's right, he was the lead male in Shakespeare in Love. This little movie they did, it was a movie version of Merchant of Venice, and Al Pacino plays Shylock the Jew. And if you want to see an actor's actor playing a role, him playing Shylock in that Merchant of, which is great. It's a tremendous cast. And you put in Jeremy Irons, who I think is just world class.
Oh, so good.
And you say he's probably the second best actor in a movie. Al Pacino playing Shylock, wanting his pound of flesh, is remarkable. Not quite as good as Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood, which I think might be the greatest single lead performance of the past 20 years. But I'm telling you what, Al Pacino as Shylock, one of the top 3 best male performances in the last 20 years. If you have not seen it, guys, do yourself a favor and go see it.
I have not seen it. Makes me want to go.
It's so good.
Is it on disc?
It's not just the performance. I'm sure it's probably on one of the streaming services. It's not just that Pacino's great. The movie, it's Merchant of Venice and Shakespeare.
Right.
It's great, but it's a great rendition of it. It's absolutely fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next email today.
The next email is Ruben asks, if you had to put all of your chips in, which of these 2019 box office odds would you go with? A, 2 movies break $2 billion. B, 4 movies breaking $1.5 billion. Or C, 6 movies breaking $1 billion. I checked box office records the past decade, and none of these choices have been met.
Wow.
But have gotten close on select years. We're going into a year where, if it's possible, maybe one of these could happen.
I mean, actually, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous when you think about this, that number one, yeah, of course, only 4 films in history have ever made $2 billion. So 2 in a year? We've been talking a lot about that recently. I mean, I only think there's 2. We've talked about this, but I only believe there are 2 contenders for that. And that is Avengers 4.
You mean for $2 billion?
For $2 billion.
For $2 billion.
Only 2 contenders in 2019 for $2 billion. I believe that is Avengers 4 and The Lion King. And no, I don't think Star Wars has a shot at $2 billion. It's going to make a hell of a lot of money. Let's at the 1.5, that's tough. 4 of them hitting 1.5, because okay, look at this image here. So if we got Avengers and we got Lion King, there are several big contenders for 1.5. I do think Star Wars Episode 9 it has a good leg up for 1.5. I do think Toy Story 4 has a leg up for 1.5. Frozen 2. Remember, the first Frozen movie, the first one, made over $1 billion. And every time I go anywhere near Disney, we see tens of thousands of little girls still dressed as Frozen.
I think I'm going to buy stock in Disney looking at that picture.
I mean, actually, as you mentioned, all of these are Disney films. So then let's look at the $1 billion potential and keep looking at this. Obviously, Avengers, obviously Star Wars, obviously Toy Story, obviously Lion King, obviously Frozen. I think these 5 are a lock for $1 billion. That means we need one movie to surprise us by hitting $1 billion. Could it be Aladdin? I'm not anticipating $1 billion for Aladdin, but Aladdin's a possibility. But it seems like every year there's that, like Jumanji came this close to crossing the $1 billion mark. Every year there seems to be one. So you know what? I feel safest saying out of those 3, 2 making $2 billion, 4 making 1.5, or 6 making 1. I feel safest going with the 6 making $1 billion. Because again, we've got 5 here that I believe are an automatic lock. Automatic lock for $1 billion. And then like 5 or 6 movies that I wouldn't say necessarily will make $1 billion, but the law of averages says one of them may.
Spider-Man Far From Home.
Spider-Man Far From Home, because the last Spider-Man movie made $860 million.
Yeah.
Aladdin's a possibility. I mean, so I think there's 5 or 6. So I'd have to say I feel most safe saying 6 make $1 billion. Which one would you feel safest with?
I think you're right. And I'm thinking about like Hobbs and Shaw, which is a Fast and Furious spinoff. I mean, those have been doing quite well. The $1.5 billion range worldwide, and I'm sure that movie's going to be huge in China.
Oh yeah,
you know, and these franchise properties. I mean, look, I do lament the fact that we don't get movies like Hunt for Red October anymore. You know, like mid-level, big budget, adult dramas or action movies. We're getting these much larger tent poles that appeal to a global audience. I get that. But they're starting to get really good and exciting.
Yeah.
Now, if you grew up liking, basically all of these $2 billion movies are B movies writ large for the big screen. I mean, like we've never got before. I love this stuff. Yes, I can go back and watch my dramas. on Netflix or wherever you're going to see
And
them.
they don't need to be $2 billion films.
No, but it's nice to see the Coen brothers' new film on Netflix. I'm
Yeah.
just happy Alfonso Cuarón's new film, Roma. What studio would have financed Roma if not for Netflix?
Because it never would have made any money in the box
No,
office.
and the great thing about what's going on, and I think a lot of people don't understand this, is that when you make a movie for Netflix, the box office the pressure of that is taken off because Netflix has already financed it. They're happy to have it there, and eventually, it might take 20 years. The viewership and whatever they're carving out per movie to justify the expense, it'll pay itself off at some point.
That's the hope.
Yes, well,
That's the hope.
as long as
that's
the subscriber
their
base.
gamble. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's their gamble at this point. But look, either way, I mean, we've talked about it a lot. We'll continue to talk about it a lot. 2019 is going to be a ridiculously good year. And let's bring up that image one more time there, Jonathan, with those 6 films. That's not it. Actually, and Captain Marvel is one that could potentially
Jonathan
be a
was just
billion-dollar
reminding
film
us
too.
that Captain Marvel's coming
But
down.
when you look at this too, it is also just because I didn't even think about this as when we first brought the image up. These are all Disney films.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny? The ones that we said are even have potential. Spider-Man, a Disney-produced film.
Right.
Sony distributed, Disney-produced. Captain Marvel, another Disney. I mean, it's like it's going to be. I want to get invited to Bob Iger's house this year because it's going to be a good year.
And I want to tell Bob Iger if I ever meet him, John Carter 2, buddy. Make it happen.
I'd love a John Carter too. I'd love it. All right, let's move on now to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us. Oh, here it is. Comes to us from Anna. And Anna writes, "Hi, John. I'm actually more excited for Captain Marvel than I am for the Avengers." You're not alone, Anna. There are a few people that feel that way. So I'm dying to know what you think about the Captain Marvel trailer. Thanks for all that you do. All right. So last night, the brand new Captain Marvel trailer drops. Here's my thoughts on it, because I don't have as many thoughts as Robert Meyer Burnett does. But here are my thoughts on the Captain Marvel trailer. I thought there were a couple of spectacular moments, and not the least of which was this. I mean, that was kind of a drop your soda out of your hand, awe-inspiring kind of an image. Loved it, which followed up with her, the flying through space, blowing star carriers out of the sky by herself. I mean, the classic kind of look, the mohawky look. I mean, there were a few spectacular moments in this trailer, no doubt. I also feel it's a good trailer. I mean, I felt like walking out of it, I felt like, okay, I now get an understanding, a construct of the story. There's the Kree, there's the Skrulls. She's clearly was taken after she had some kind of accident, brainwashed to believe she was something that probably she's not. She's now kind of pitted to end this war between them and not be a puppet for either side. Okay, I got a little bit of that. I thought it was a good trailer with some spectacular moments. However, yesterday, Robert, on this show, on this set, in these chairs, one of the things I said to you yesterday was this new Marvel trailer coming tonight, which was, of course, last night. This new Captain Marvel trailer coming tonight, it has got to blow the doors off. It's got to crush. Because in just a few days, whether it's tomorrow on Good Morning America, like a lot of people are reporting, whether it's during the Game Awards where the Russo brothers are going to be a presenter, whether it's next week, there is very quickly coming an Avengers 4 trailer, and Captain Marvel, as any Marvel movie would right now coming out just before Avengers 4, is getting massively overshadowed. And I said on yesterday's show, this is a trailer that cannot just be good. It's got to be great, and it's got to crush it. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's all subjective. Maybe for you it did crush it and all that kind of stuff. I thought it was a good trailer, not good enough. Not to bring on its own wave of buzz and its own identity in the shadow of this juggernaut coming down the pipe, which is another one of their own films, Avengers 4. And you know what? I said on this show that it was the right move to have Captain Marvel trailer drop first, because at least then you'll have about 48 hours. I am now completely going back on that. I saw this trailer and I thought, nope, now I'm wrong. Now you should have had the Avengers 4 trailer first, featuring Captain Marvel, because we know Captain Marvel's going to be in this trailer, featuring this character, featuring the world of Avengers 4 and all this kind of stuff, featuring Captain Marvel, and then you should have probably played this trailer and you would have had more oomph for your buck at that point. So I'm completely going back on what I said yesterday. I was completely wrong. I was completely wrong about that. And, again, I still think it was good. Some spectacular moments. But damn it, when you're in the MCU and you've got Avengers 4 coming, good with a couple of spectacular moments just isn't good enough. And that's where I'm feeling where we're at. Robert, how did you feel about it?
Well, I'm going to go even further. I felt this trailer was disappointing to me because I've always been a fan of Carol Danvers. I've been a fan of her Captain Marvel incarnation. I thought this trailer did not give us enough. It did not intellectually engage me to the point of, what is the story about? There's an epic story going on here that's going to go right into Avengers 4. And we understand that she doesn't know who she is. We saw that in the teaser. But you've got Ronan. You've got Jaimin Hansu. You've got the return of Coulson. You've got young Nick Fury. There's the Kree Skrull War, which is a cornerstone of the Marvel universe. And that conflict goes into Secret Invasion. And there's so many things that this movie should touch on. And we got Annette Bening, which was kind of cool seeing her. I love the fact that they're going back to these Oscar caliber actresses and bringing them into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I mean, you have a Nick Fury cat joke. I mean,
my wife, that was my wife's favorite part of that trailer.
But does that belong in this particular trailer? I mean, we are left with the Marvel Universe has been decimated. The MCU has been decimated. And this trailer did not, I mean, I know it takes place in the 90s and it's a period piece and we're getting a bunch of backstory, but we're at a situation now where I don't want to feel like this movie is treading water till we get to the main event. And I really felt, look, you guys, it's just a trailer. I understand that. I get it. And Brie Larson, I think she looks great in the costume. I'd like to see a little bit more plucky snarkiness from her as a character. Maybe she's a little RoboCop-esque now. But I wanted to feel a little bit more excitement. I mean, the badass moments are badass, no doubt. And she looks great in that, both suits, actually. But I felt like it was borderline a TV finale and not an epic movie. I guess I keep hearing Wonder Woman's theme song. That I want, when she was standing there flame up in the train, like that picture, I wanted to hear that Wonder Woman theme song, right. I didn't get that. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be in the film. I still trust Kevin Feige. I still trust in Feige.
Yeah, I mean, again, we are just talking about the trailer.
Right, it's just a trailer.
I mean, and I'm saying good, not good enough. And it is. And again, that's a little bit of the Marvel curse, and that's a little bit of a curse of the fact that the bar is getting raised more and more and more. The comic book films being the joke of the movie industry, that era is gone.
Yes.
Because the bar is getting raised. This trailer comes out even just 5 years ago. This trailer comes out 5 years ago. I think it's a lot more. I think I'm a lot happier with it, a lot more excited about it. But the reality is, with the bar being raised, with Avengers 4 coming right around the corner, this trailer was not good enough. This is not a trailer that's going to get everybody dividing their attention between Captain Marvel and Avengers 4. It's still going to be 90% on Avengers 4 and this. And that just doesn't get it. Now, somebody brought up something really interesting on Twitter that I listened to, and that, oh yeah, this makes sense. With them introducing the story that she's basically a reprogrammed individual, the fact that they have much of this thing where a lot of her personality is muted.
Right.
That, to me, narratively now, oh, well, that makes perfect sense. Like, from a narrative point of view, that makes sense to me. Now I get that. That's great. But I agree with you, Robert. You needed a couple more of these moments. Like this shot here, when she's standing there all flamed up, right? Basically pulling her best Johnny Storm there.
Right.
It's a great look, but it didn't give us a great moment in the trailer. And again, this is the curse of being an MCU film 2 months before Avengers 4. It's too bad, but it's true.
Plus, you're dealing with cosmic. I mean, we've watched Thor reignite a star.
Yeah.
so he can forge a weapon to take out Thanos.
Stormbreaker.
And we have one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe. This is her introduction, and you know, she's having flashbacks to childhood memories, and she's in a base petting a cat with Nick Fury, riding in a car. I felt, and again, I feel like I'm never negative. I'm always excited. I'm still deliriously excited to see this movie, but I wanted to feel a little taste. We got it at the end of that trailer, the shot where she's flying through.
Oh yeah, and blown
that
away
was
those
amazing.
Starships, yeah.
But I wanted to feel like we were getting, the movie should have been cosmic in scale, and it feels small to me.
Yeah, and you know, here's the interesting thing. Talking about the curses. Here's the other thing. This is a result of us film fans, and let's face it, this includes me, this includes you, this includes you. Bitchy little whiners that we are. And we are. That's what
this
we
is
do.
the bitchiest you got.
Yeah.
From me. I'm being a little bitch here. I know.
But
I know.
here's the interesting line where you got, like, you mentioned all these great elements they didn't put in the trailer, which is true. I got excited when I heard Lee Pace was coming back in to play Ronan the Accuser. I was excited about that. I am a huge Jaimon Hansu fan, that he was coming back as the pursuer, right? So there's all these things you could have put in the trailer. But then juxtapose that against all of us constantly whining, complaining, you're putting too much in trailers. Why
that's
are you
true.
showing us everything in trailers? So what do? They scale back. We're not going to show you as much. Why aren't you showing us more? Which is exactly me right now. I'm that whiny baby right now. Why are you showing us more big moments? And they show us the big moments. Why are you showing so much? Blah, blah. I mean, it's, and I acknowledge this very precarious tightrope that these studios and these marketing departments have to walk, this very, very thin, precarious line of how much do we show them? How much do we not show them? What do we do? And maybe the results of this trailer is kind of a ramification of that constant complaining that we all do, that you're showing us too much. You're not showing us enough. And I just do feel, and I agree with you, I feel like they erred a little bit too much on the side of, let's not quite show them that much. And I feel like they aired too much to that side.
Right.
I feel like this was a trailer that needed to make a bigger impact. A need that not every MCU movie is going to face. But this one does. And I feel like they fell a little short.
You know, the first Guardians of the Galaxy trailer wasn't huge. I mean, it was cool, but you had these characters that were really, when you first met them, it was kind of goofy. A tree, a raccoon, Star-Lord, and they were a bunch of a-holes. You know, you had the comedy element, and that was enough. You know, but this character has elements of so many other characters. There's a little bit of Green Lantern in her. There's a little bit of Superman in her. There's a little bit of, as you said, RoboCop, or the guy on Twitter said RoboCop. There's elements that we've seen before. What we needed to see here is how does this work within the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe? This is the lead-in to Avengers 4, probably arguably the most anticipated MCU film of all time. And this is the direct lead-in. So it's got to be, I just wanted something that made me more excited. I'm still excited, but I think that the world at large needs to be made more excited because this is a new character. It's like we're getting Iron Man for the first time on the big screen.
Yeah, and look, again, I have no doubts this is under the watchful eye of Kevin Feige. I have no doubt this movie's going to be great. I have zero doubt. I'm just saying, from a corporate point of view, from a business point of view, from an awareness point of view, you needed to make a bigger splash with this trailer than they did, and I think they played it a little bit safe. But let's see how it all turns out. All right, guys, that'll do it for all the emails today, but we like to save a little bit of time here on the John Campea Show because we do this show live every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, with some exceptions. And so we like to take live questions from you guys. A bunch of you guys have been firing in some live questions. So let's go over and start taking some of them. Mason Kackman writes, favorite Charlton Heston movie? Mine is Planet of the Apes. I believe that's yours as well, is it not?
It pretty much is.
Right.
Although, you know, I really... these are not great movies, but he did 3 science fiction films in the late 60s and early 70s. He did Planet of the Apes. He was in Beneath the Planet of the Apes at the end, but he was also in Soylent Green and the Omega Man.
We just talked about Soylent Green on my show last week, actually.
And he's really good in that.
People!
Yeah.
Soylent Green is people.
But I think, as much as I love Planet of the Apes, I think your movie probably...
I can't get away from Ben-Hur.
Yeah.
I mean, Ben-Hur is... First, in the the hollowed mythologies of Hollywood, even just the creation of Ben-Hur is an all-time epic story.
Yeah.
The stories of people dying making that movie. And when you realize that you watch Ben-Hur today and then you realize, oh yeah, they had no CGI. I mean, the character, it's epic in scale. And Charlton Heston just like, it's so good.
If you
It's so
haven't
good.
seen Ben-Hur, it truly is one of the most epic films
Of all time.
ever made. Watch Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments. It's a great Christmas double feature.
All right, let's move on here. Toonie2 writes, Brie Larson may be the better actress than Gal Gadot, but Gal Gadot looks perfect as Wonder Woman. Brie as Cap looks boring, but I like the trailer. I don't know how somebody if you think that looks boring, I don't know. All I can do is try to point you to a treatment center. But if you're talking about in the movie, I believe, again, there's an element to this where she is a brainwash, reprogrammed thing that's going to mute. I think there's narrative purpose to that.
Yes, I do.
Now,
I
whether
agree.
or not she's the better actress, we won't even get into that. Ben Rayner writes, over under 20%. Fury himself is a Skrull after this movie. There's no way that the Fury we know would be like that with a cat during a mission. Oh, I don't know. First of all, I'll say this. I think I love it when moments happen in movies or TV shows that give us a different look at a character outside of how we normally see them. So on that level, I love that moment with Fury and the cat. However, the first thing you told me when you came in here today was one of your theories about the movie.
If you're a Star Trek Deep Space Nine fan, and you should be because Star Trek Deep Space Nine is great, there's a character named General Martok. He's a Klingon character. I don't want to ruin it, but there's a 2-part episode called In Purgatory Shadow and By Inferno's Light. And the character of Martok is not who we thought he was when we first met him. And when we find him again, he's missing an eye because he was replaced
By the Jem'Hadar.
by the changelings and the Jem'Hadar and the Vortas. And I think the scene with the cat in that trailer is a tip-off that Nick Fury has been replaced by a Skrull.
Right. Not that the Nick Fury we know in the modern MCU movies is a Skrull, but at that point in the Captain...
Yes. The Nick Fury with an eye patch is our Nick Fury. But that Nick Fury, I think Captain Marvel is going to rescue the real Nick Fury after she discovers he's a Skrull.
So great, Mike, but that is funny. This is the first thing you said when you came in here. Now, Ben brings it up in here. Ben also follows up with, I thought the trailer was good, but I was hoping for great. It's not just that I was hoping for great. I thought it needed to be great. I just, again, for its market position and the fact that it's coming out so closely on the thing, it had to crush it. I said that yesterday, and I like the trailer. I do. I like it.
Yeah.
But it ain't going to change minds and hearts. That it needed to go a little bit further, I thought. Hamaz Miran writes, Shazam will beat Captain Marvel at the box office. It's possible. It's absolutely possible that it could. Look, because first of all, these are 2 characters we have not seen on the big screen before.
Right.
So right there. But the Captain Marvel one is going for a little bit more crowd-pleasing, to be funnier, to be lighter, to go in that thing. You bring in a guy like Zach to play the role, right? That first trailer for Shazam was marvelous.
Yes.
Absolutely, no pun intended. It was absolutely marvelous. That first trailer was great. I don't suspect either of these films are $900 million films, but I would not put money. I think it's a coin toss. Honestly, I think it's a coin toss as to which will make more money. Captain Marvel. It'll come down to which is the better movie, and that we just have no concept of right now.
And also, don't underestimate the female audience. Having Carol Danvers on the big screen and having her being the first female-led Marvel film, that's no small thing. And I think that we have a whole audience of women of all ages who are primed to see this film. Especially younger girls. I mean, there's a lot of who wouldn't want to cosplay that Captain Marvel outfit. That's one of the great superhero costumes ever put on film.
And one of the few female, honestly, I don't mean this to sound facetious, one of the few superhero costumes that doesn't look like a outfit you'd wear going to a club in Las Vegas on a Saturday night.
Right.
It's one of the very few fully covered costumes, which I don't know. To me, it's kind of refreshing.
I mean, I think it's going to be nice to see armies of girls cosplaying Kree, those green Kree uniforms, then slave Leias, or pardon me, Hut Slayer Leias at conventions.
The Hut Slayer. Okay, Herc08 writes, so the trailer was not as exciting as I was hoping. The best part was the old lady on the bus and the cat. I did love, and I like the thing with the cat. 3 months left and still no major hype. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp had more hype than this. Yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp definitely did, but Ant-Man and the Wasp had the advantage of coming on the heels of Avengers Infinity War. People had seen it. They'd seen it multiple times. They had gotten it out of their system, and now they went in to see Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I said before, and I still agree, I still believe this. I think Captain Marvel is looking to clock in somewhere around the Ant-Man and the Wasp in the $600+ million range, which would be great, which would be wonderful for them. Let's see. Mike Noir writes, I thought the trailer was awesome, John. Marvel seems to always nail the costumes. They did a great job.
They really do.
I thought the helmet look was perfect. The part that gave me the most chills was when she was flying in space attacking those ships, almost to the point that it should have been more than a 3-second shot.
Right. Well, show me more of her powers.
Unless that's like the final battle scene, you can't show too much of it. I mean, again, I haven't seen the movie, so maybe if I see the movie, I'll go, oh, I get why they didn't want to show us more. I mean, I don't know. That's all hindsight stuff. But I completely agree, Mike. I like the fact that they expanded on that old woman scene, because that old woman shot was one of the best shots in the first trailer.
Right.
But just the fact, the smile she has on her face, she punches her, and then she makes that little clicking and looks back.
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Murray Reich writes, I just want the Avengers 4 trailer to show Rickroll just to piss off the crybabies. Okay, so to piggyback on what you were suggesting, just a black screen, Alan Silvestri's like Marvel's The Avengers, black, and then Rick Ashley.
Yeah.
I mean, that would go down. Would it piss a lot of people off? Yes, but it would go down as one of the greatest moments in movie marketing history.
With a montage of every character that was dusted.
Oh, yes.
Never going to give you up. You know what? I'm going to make that. If that doesn't happen, somebody should make that trailer. If I don't, you should.
All right. Ben Hayusa writes, I dig the Captain Marvel trailer. It's definitely a better trailer than the announcement trailer. Yes, it was. Also, I heard Bumblebee is confirmed to be a reboot. I don't know that you can say it's confirmed to be a reboot when you're getting all the exact same things. I mean, look, it's still Peter Cullen that. I mean, maybe they are completely resetting the story. Then why does Bumblebee still sound exactly the same? Why? I mean, I don't know.
Optimus Prime's in it.
Yeah. I mean, you can have Optimus Prime, but I mean, do you remember that the first person they talked about getting to voice Optimus Prime in the Michael Bay Transformers was not Peter Cullen?
Right.
It was George Clooney.
I didn't know that.
They looked at George Clooney to do that. So different voice. So I don't know if it's confirmed. They might be saying like, we're going to do things. It might be reboot-ish, but it's certainly not what we would traditionally understand as a reboot. But I am really excited. I'm going to see Bumblebee on Saturday. I'm very excited to see this movie.
It's set in the 80s too.
It is. Yes.
So
that's why he's a bug, which is great. Jabin Carter writes, comic book film fatigue set in yet? No, I think, look, every year there's the comic book movie fatigue is setting in, and then another $1 billion film and a $2 billion film and an $800 million. Then Venom makes $850 million. I just keep telling people, look, will comic book movie fatigue eventually be a thing? Yeah. But is it now? No.
See, I've never agreed with that. I mean, Ghost World is based on a comic book. Road to Perdition was based on a comic book. I think what people mean to say is superhero fatigue.
Sure, yeah.
And I think, no, superheroes are just different versions of cops or knights in shining armor or lawyers or doctors. Are people tired of doctor medical TV shows yet? No.
Have they stopped watching cop shows?
No. I think it's a genre, and I think people love it. You know, it combines science fiction and heroics and fantasy all in one frothy mix that we all love.
And look, we have Westerns come and go.
Yeah.
We have certain, and definitely Batman and Robin killed one age of the comic book movies, but then a new one emerged. And yeah, eventually that will happen. But it's just so funny. Every single year I get all these people telling me, oh, it's comic book movie fatigue. And I keep saying, no, it's not. Anyway. Where are we at here? Murray Reich writes, John, is Captain Marvel considered a live action or an animated film? Because there is so much CG. No, that's going back, of course, to the debate about whether or not Lion King is a live action or a animated film. So that's funny, Murray. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, I liked it. I'm excited to see a new hero. Yeah, I liked it too. I'm sure there are people going around saying, John, why did you hate the Captain Marvel trailer? I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it either.
I thought it was I thought it was good with some great moments. I'm just saying from a market awareness point of view, it did not do what this unique movie needed to do. Not every movie needs to do this, but the position Captain Marvel is in, they needed to crush it with this trailer. And they didn't. So, but I liked it too, man. I liked it too. Let's see. Charlie Gray writes, I really like the Captain Marvel trailer. Didn't give too much away, which is true. And Jude Law's character might not be who we think. Somebody else told me that last night. So you know what? I know we didn't see a lot of Jude Law in it, but I'm starting to think there's something else to him than what we're anticipating. What do you think they're going to do with the Jude Law stuff?
Everyone's saying, oh, he's Marvel.
Well, that's what he's listed as.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe
right.
Maybe this whole movie
he's a
is
scroll.
Look, if it's dealing with Secret Invasion and we're dealing with maybe characters that we've met that have been replaced before or since or whenever, there's a lot of secrets they don't want to give away, and I can see the movie's going to just blow us all away because the trailer can't give away much. That's what I'm thinking. What I'm thinking.
You know what? Murray kind of alludes to that a little bit in his next question. Murray writes in, wasn't over the moon with the trailer, but I like how it felt different. It did feel different to me.
Yeah.
I like how it felt different. Space battles look amazing. As a comic book fan, I want these movies to succeed. Well, I want them to be good and succeed.
Right.
And here's hoping under Kevin Feige's direction, it will be good. Mike Noir writes, I can't help but wonder what would have been in store for the cosmic side of the MCU and Guardians 3 had James Gunn not been let go. Some Captain Marvel for him, surely. Maybe. I mean, yeah, if he had done... I mean, look, remember, Captain Marvel may be in outer space, but I don't think there was a lot of honestly, I think there would not have been a Captain Marvel crossover with the Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Because Captain Marvel seems pretty Earth-based, and the Guardians are not, and outer space is a big place. So I don't know. If James Gunn was still doing Guardians 3, do you think we would have seen Captain Marvel in Guardians 3?
Maybe she would have appeared, but I think it's a different vibe. I think it's a different... I don't know if they're going to cross paths. I could see Captain Marvel more with the Nova Corps or the Celestials or more of the serious end of space, whereas the Guardians are on the humorous end of space, if that makes any... But if it could work, James Gunn could have made it work.
All right, Miles Pardo writes, Larson acts like I feared Gal Gadot would act. Well, I mean, I think there's it's in the script. I think there's a reason her character portrays that way. I mean, again, Brie Larson is an Academy Award winning actress. We've seen her. We know how good she is. And I think if she's acting that way, it's because that's what the script is calling for her to do.
Yep.
So we'll just have to wait and see, though. I mean, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Pool of Dead writes, but John, I'm entitled to the A4 trailer. P.S. My iron crotch is itching. And what do you think of Charlie Sheen playing Batman because Disney pays critics? Pool of Dead throwing in all the things that drive me crazy, all into one thing there. Well said, Pool of Dead. Well said. Koba writes, when is the damn Hellboy trailer getting released to the public? New York City Comic Con was 2 months ago. You know, in all this talk, Robert, about the Avengers 4 trailer and the Captain Marvel trailer, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I mean, I know they moved. Where did they move Hellboy to again? Hold a second. Hellboy, because I remember they moved it.
Well, it's another great comic book character. Mike Mignola's Hellboy is great. This is the third Hellboy movie coming out. It is a reboot. But I think there's a lot of people that love Hellboy. I love Hellboy. I want to see a great Hellboy movie, especially R-rated.
Right, and I want to see too. It's now coming out in April. Okay. It's 4 months away. Avengers 4 is still 5 months away, people. But Avengers 4, but you're right, we are getting into that window. I, who like shorter windows for when trailers get released, but even I am going... Yeah, guys, where is this? You know what? They may not want to release it right around when all the hoopla is surrounding it. But look, your movie's coming out in April. You got to release this trailer at some point. So I agree with you, Koba. That's the one that we are forgetting about is where the hell is this Hellboy trailer? Javier Rios 405 writes, have we started the fire? Yes, the fire rises. Oh, what's that from?
Bane.
Oh, that's yes,
Bane,
that's
the
right.
fire.
Yeah, the fire
If anyone,
rises.
if you guys don't know the Aural knots, AURAL knots, like astronauts, you have to watch Freestyle Bane. Freestyle Bane is still
Oh
one of
my
my favorite,
God, it's so good.
funniest things I've ever seen on the internet.
They're the same guys. Aren't they the same guys who did the Kylo Ren trailer reactions?
Yes.
That-
Yes,
But-
they did.
Speaking of funny shit you guys got to watch on YouTube, the Kylo Ren doing a trailer reaction to episode 8 is priceless.
It's so, and they did the dwarves from The Hobbit singing Michael Jackson.
Oh, I don't remember that one. I didn't see that one.
They're my favorite guy. They're so great. Watch Freestyle Bane. Go look it up right now. It's hilarious.
Javier follows up with, what's the next step of this master plan? Crashing this plane with no survivors. Brad Canfield writes, just me, or is the Captain Marvel trailer lacking? Well, I don't think it was lacking. See, this is the thing. I think had this been any other movie at any other time, we would just be looking about and going, hey, solid trailer, man.
Right.
Good, solid trailer.
I'm interested.
Yeah. But this particular movie at this particular time needed more. And I think you're seeing that in the reactions across the sphere.
Yeah.
It's a good trailer. It's good. Great moments. It had to give us more, though. Had to give us more to avoid these types of reactions that we're seeing from people. James Welsh writes, Crazy Rich Asians opened in China last week and bombed, made just over $1 million in its opening weekend. Why do you think the Chinese audiences rejected it? I don't know. It's a really good little movie. I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would.
Absolutely, but can you imagine if a movie called Crazy Rich Americans opened here in the States? Like, why would people go see that? You know, if you're in China, which is the nation which has more Asians than anywhere else in the world, why would they be expected to go out and see a movie about them?
Well, particularly in China, which rejects capitalism, and you're doing a thing about the ultra 0.001% richest, wealthiest people in the world. So I don't know. I could give all my completely wrong sociological expectations
Right.
about why this movie didn't do as well in China as it did here. Look, the bottom line is this. Crazy Rich Asians is a very formulaic romantic comedy, but sometimes formula works, and I thought it was charming and fun and funny, and I enjoyed it.
And I think it really is it comes from a very Western perspective.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it's a fish out of water story, but it's very much from a Western point of view. And I think that the people in China were probably perplexed by this.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we don't know, but hey, who knows why people do the things they do. Kevin Brown writes, get the sense the Captain Marvel trailer is lacking because it's really trying to hide important spoiler information. Their betting fans will go see it regardless. Again, that's very close to what I was saying
Yes.
before. You do get the sense that there is so much more behind the curtain, that there is a lot behind the curtain. And again, I don't know the movie, so I can't say what they should have done differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
All I can do is, as a spectator, say, and as an analyst, I guess, say, to really win over the audience in the light of Avengers 4 coming and to get some attention for this movie, you had to do something spectacular. And while it's a good trailer, it's a solid trailer, it did not do that, and I believe it's going to continue to sit kind of ambiguously in the shadow of Avengers 4 that's coming.
Well, it's going to be interesting. You know, they traditionally show these movies, especially to critics, a couple weeks in advance.
Right.
And then they have an embargo that lifts. I think this movie is probably going to surprise everyone. I think they're holding their cards close to the vest. I think they're telling us it's coming out, but I think they know that the movie is kind of like the poster they released.
Right.
For front and center, burning up. It's going to be one cool movie. They know it's cool, and they're just waiting. They're waiting.
All right, let's move on here. Thomas Kellner writes, is it me or does the trailer just look okay? Captain Marvel, we'll have to wait and see what the next trailer does. Keep up the great work. Love the new studio. Thank you so much, Thomas. And yeah, I even thought it was a little bit better than okay. It's good. It's just not good enough. This was a movie that, fair or unfair, has bigger requirements on it to win over people than other films, like Guardians of the Galaxy did at first, or
Right.
like other films. This film, fairly or unfairly, it may be fair, it may be unfair, but the reality is it has bigger expectations on it and a bigger requirement to win over the audience than other average films do. That's the blessing and the curse of being an MCU movie coming in the shadows of Avengers 4. It's good. It has some great moments, but it didn't do anything to make itself truly stand out and go, it's me and Avengers 4. No, it's Avengers 4. Oh, no, by the way, there's this Captain Marvel movie coming too. That's what it still feels like. They didn't do enough to change that perception. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, hey, John, just came across this awesome version of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly by Danish National Symphony Orchestra live. You got to check it out. Yeah, as soon as you said Danish National Symphony Orchestra and The Good, Bad, you had me hooked. That's definitely something I'm going to look up. Thank you, Rufio, for that. Tony writes, hi from the UK. Avengers 4 trailer tomorrow on my birthday would be nice. Will Captain Marvel have a small role in Avengers 4 because of how overpowered she is? Thanks. Oh, I don't think she's going to have a small role in Avengers 4. I think Captain Marvel is going to have a very prominent role in Avengers 4. And I am now feeling, I thought they would show us Captain Marvel in the Avengers 4. I'm thinking we're going to see a bunch of in trailer terms, I think we're going to see a bunch of Captain Marvel in the Avengers 4 trailer. What do you think?
I agree. And, I think maybe that's part of their strategy.
Yeah.
Now, whatever they show us in the Avengers 4 trailer of Captain Marvel is going to make us be like, oh, now I get it. But they can't show it. They don't want to tip their hand yet. This is a very calculated strategy. These two movies are not being thought of as independent of one another.
No,
they're
not.
Infinity War ended with a call out to Captain Marvel. We're going to get Captain Marvel, then we're going to get Avengers 4. They figured it out.
I mean, you give us a shot in the Avengers 4 trailer of Captain Marvel hovering in the air, just with a casual look on her face, holding Thanos by his throat. And just kind of, that'll make us go back and look at the Captain Marvel trailer kind of in a completely different light.
Absolutely.
All right, let's see here. James Welsh writes, Anthony Franco writes, hey, John, do you think Marvel will ever explore the monster side of the MCU, like Man-Thing? Congrats on the new studio and keep up the great work. Yes. As the MCU continues to explore new areas of its, of its library, you're going to get to that stuff. And they're constantly trying new things. Hence, we're talking about a Shang-Chi movie, which maybe 6 years ago would have been inconceivable.
Shang-Chi I believe, interacted with Man-Thing.
Oh, at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah. And look, we're getting Morbius, the living vampire, over at Sony.
Yeah.
So why the monster-verse, the monster part of the Marvel Universe is great.
All right, James Welsh writes, any plans on seeing Anna in the Apocalypse? Yes, I do. I do plan on watching that, as a matter of fact.
Can't wait, actually.
Kevin Brown writes, I'm not going to fight your war. My guess is Skrulls and Kree are two sides of the same coin. She disavows from being a Kree and fights both. Well, I think they give that away because in that one part where she's talking to Fury, and he says, so you're a bunch of galactic warrior heroes. Right. We're galactic warrior heroes. I think that is setting us up for her facing that moment of crisis of massive disillusionment. And I still believe this is going to come down to a fight between her and Ronan. I think her and Ronan are going to duke it out. That Ronan clearly survives.
Well, Ronan was basically on her side.
Right.
Was on the side, the side of good, and then turned, of course, to decide to work for Thanos.
And maybe that's another one of the big things that they do not want to give away in the trailers at this point. Kevin follows it up with, she finds value in a more virtuous overall mission from discovering her past, deviating from what the Kree value, thus fighting both Kree and Skull. Yeah, I completely agree, Kevin. I think all those things are things that are alluded to in the trailer.
Yes.
And that if you pepper in some things that they probably feel they can't show us, may have been really damn compelling.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to wait and see. But it's getting close. What are we, 3 months away now?
Yeah.
Like 12 weeks away.
The costume change tells us a lot. Her green costume is her Kree uniform.
Right.
And then she's no longer wearing it
anymore.
All right.
Just time for a couple more questions here, guys. Jared's Reviews writes, do you think 2018 will end up being the beat year? You probably meant best. Will end up being the best year for comic book movies. Spider-Man, Spider-Verse was great. And early reviews say Aquaman is great. Thanks. I mean, it's tough. There was that year that Civil War came out, and I'm trying to remember all the other. Every year we seem to have this discussion. Is this the best year for comic book movies? Is this the best year for comic book movies? What do we got this year? Got Black Panther, which is really good. Got Avengers Infinity War, which is great. We had Ant-Man and the Wasp, which, while I don't think it was quite as good as the first Ant-Man, was still quite good and quite entertaining. Venom was a massively surprise hit. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, the last I check, is still holding 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. The quick reviews coming from Aquaman have been completely positive. Look, it's too early to call But let's put it this way. I'm not going to be surprised if we hit December 31st and we at some point do go, yep, this was the best year for comic book movies. But I mean, last year was spectacular. The year before that was spectacular. I mean, it's hard to say. It's a conversation we're probably going to have every single year. Daniel Joseph writes, one does not use fitting room 2 when one is popping one's cherry. And of course, that is Kingsman. By the way, we were talking about this earlier. How disappointing was Kingsman: The Golden Circle? Honestly, the more time that passes, the more and more disappointed I am in that film. And then I watched the first Kingsman again, and it really emphasized to me how big of a step down the second one, because that first one is amazing.
It's so much fun, and the movie strikes a really difficult tone. I mean, it could have been really goofy, especially from that opening credit sequence. But I love Kingsman. The first Kingsman is great, and it really captures Mark Millar's attitude and his writing. It's great.
Let's see. Thomas Kellner writes, any chance of a John and Robert Meyer Burnett Star Wars show? It would be off the charts. You're already committing a lot of time to being here. You have a life outside of.
I do, and I got a lot going on. But look, I love talking about Star Wars. I mean, people think I'm the Star Trek guy,
and you are.
I am, but I love Star Wars. I mean, Toshin Books. I'm a fiend for Toshin Books. Is releasing the Star Wars archives this month. Come on.
Jack Reacher writes, the Captain Marvel trailer was good, but didn't blow my socks off. Brie seems a little monotone as well. Probably not in the movie, though. No, I'm guessing she probably does come across a little monotone in the movie, but again, I think that's going to all be a part of the character because of what happens to her. So I think there's going to be narrative purpose to that. I'm Upset writes, remember the film Old Dogs? Oh, yeah. Awful film and completely shocked and sad. It's Bernie Mac's last film. Was that his last one?
I would take this guy's word for it, but if it is, that's sad.
Well, I mean, let's put it.
Was he in something that came out posthumously?
Don't recall.
I don't either. I don't remember.
Because, look, let's not pretend like Bernie Mac had this golden streak of the greatest films ever made at the same time. But, hey, you know what? We can say all we want about Old Dogs. It was a major motion picture film that he got to star in, and there's 999,000 million starving actors in LA who would kill to say that they starred in that movie. So let's keep it in perspective.
And plus, Bernie Mac was in Ocean's 11, and he had the great line about, do you moisturize? That's got camphor in it. I love him in Ocean's 11.
Jack Reacher writes, taking into account the canon expanded universe, who do you like more, General Grievous or Count Dooku? Count Dooku. I always kind of thought General Grievous was a ridiculous character. I never liked the Grievous character at all.
It's Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Christopher Lee. I mean, the only problem with Dooku is that he should have been the star of his own movie. Imagine if he was if he was in the prequels for most of the films. That would have been great stuff.
Jonathan Jason writes, love that artwork Robert tweeted out of you guys as Magneto and Xavier. Robert can rock the bald look. Robert can rock that. And that was from our friend
David Crabtree,
who's put together several pieces of art for us, which looked
USMC.
amazing.
David is he's working on his own comic book that he's shown me some pages for. It's cool.
Okay, 2 more questions, then we got to wrap it up here today, guys. Benny95 writes, wouldn't it be more tempting for Sony to take Spider-Man back now? If Spider-Man was in Venom, it would have crossed $1 billion, so why not take him back? No, look, there's this really erroneous way of thinking out there. Oh, this movie made that much? Well, if it had this character, it would have made even more. Then why didn't Spider-Man Homecoming make $1 billion? Spider-Man Homecoming didn't make $1 billion. And if you had put Spider-Man into this Venom movie, it would have been a completely different movie and may not have had that kind of thing. All I'm saying is you can't just make these types of assumptions like Venom made $800 million. Well, if you had Spider-Man, it would have made $1 billion. No Spider-Man movie has ever made $1 billion. Wait, did Spider-Man 2?
It might have.
Spider-Man 2 may have. But generally speaking, Spider-Man movies don't make $1 billion, even the ones he has on his own. So, no, it is more, it would have been, again, my logic on this is completely sound. And I've spoken to a few people on the inside who've kind of confirmed this for me. But anyway, the basic thing is this. Had Venom flopped, all right, Sony would have been in a position, Sony, which is committed to doing its own superhero movies, they would have been in a position of, well, we can't make our superhero movies work without Spider-Man. Oh, well. yoink, and they would have pulled him back out of the MCU. And I was telling people this for almost a year leading up to Venom. Everybody was going, let's all boycott Venom so Spider-Man stays at Marvel. I'm like, you idiots. That is the opposite of what will happen. We who want Spider-Man to stay in the MCU, we better be cheering that Venom does pretty good, because if they fail, they're going to go, well, we can't make this work without Spider-Man. They'll take him back. But guess what? Now, Sony gets to have their cake and eat it too. It's like, oh, we have big blockbuster hits without Spider-Man, and we're making money on Spider-Man being in the MCU. It is a win-win for Sony. I am completely confounded by people who say to me, no, it's the opposite. It's not the opposite.
Well, look at what Sony does have a Spider-Man movie coming out. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is going to be a huge, huge film. They're creating their own Spider-Man franchise with Peter Parker in it. It's just animated.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
pretty
and they
amazing.
cannot, and a lot of people constantly ask, do you think they can do live action Miles Morales? No, under the terms of the agreement, from what I understand, Sony cannot do any kind of live action Spider-Man, regardless of who you say it is behind the mask. They can't do a live action Spider-Man while they've got a live action Spider-Man going on in the MCU. That would piss off Disney, obviously, for obvious reasons. So that can't happen. But the animated thing, that's kind of interesting.
Yes, it is.
Okay, let's see here. Anonymous writes, who is your Super Bowl picks for this year, Johnny? Well, I'm going to piss off Robert Meyer Burnett, but one of them is not the Seattle Seahawks. But holy crap, how have they turned their season around?
Oh, man.
Didn't they start
Uncle
0-3
Pete,
or something?
the Jedi Knights of the Pacific Northwest are coming back under the leadership of Russell Wilson, and Richard Sherman can suck it.
They just destroyed this. Honestly, I think it's going to be the New Orleans Saints and the
Rams.
No, it's
Come on.
You think the Rams? But the Rams just lost to the Saints.
They're still going to be they're going to be in the Super Bowl with them. They learned.
But aren't they both in the NFC? Yeah. So no, it's I believe it's going to be the Patriots and the.
I hate the Patriots. I hate them so much. Any Super Bowl without the Patriots is a better Super Bowl than a Super Bowl with the Patriots.
Oh, come on. You mean having the best team isn't the best thing to have?
No, they should have. But you know what?
What? What are you talking about?
Enough.
Now, shouldn't the best teams with the GOAT,
Yes.
the greatest football player of all time, getting into the final, shouldn't excellence be rewarded? Look, I think it's going to be this. I would love to say the Kansas City Chiefs, but let's face it, the Chiefs have already played the Patriots, and the Patriots beat them. And so I think and when it comes down to crunch time, that's all they do. The Patriots win. They just win. That's what they do. It's going to be the Patriots against and I believe the Saints will beat the Rams again. And then I think the Saints will beat the Patriots. My Super Bowl prediction right now is Drew Brees gets his second win. They're going to defeat the New England Patriots. Their offense is going to be too much to handle. So I believe the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Next year will be the Rams. Next year will be the Rams. What do you mean what a surprise?
The Rams, though, you got to give it up for the Rams. I mean,
they're amazing, but they're young.
They're young, but to see what they've done since they've come to, I remember when they first started, not too long ago, their showing was not so good, but man, they are a young team. They got young blood, and I've been loving watching the Rams this season.
Yeah, the problem is they have no defense whatsoever.
Yeah, well,
and that's what's going to keep them out of the Super Bowl. All right, last question of the day. Let's see. It also comes to us from Anonymous, and Anonymous writes, saw a tag with a couple of buddies the day before Father's Day. Next day, one of them passed away of a sudden heart failure. Oh my God, a silly film, but now means a lot to me. Okay, well, first of all, Anonymous, deepest condolences to you and your friends family. That's awful. But going back to what your point is about Tag. Tag was one of those films that looked like one of those little throwaway comedies when it was first being marketed. And I saw it, and I was so delighted by not only how surprisingly funny it was, but how much true, real emotion and how appealing it was on that level. It's a special little movie.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And you got to watch through the credits. You got to watch the movie all the way, and then you got to watch through the credits, because as they do all the real footage of that group of friends,
right?
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's funny in a way. Having a group of friends that went to see Tag is a great thing. It's a great thing that you have that, and it is we know what it's like to lose somebody close to us this year suddenly, and it's something that you never quite get over.
Yeah.
It's and it in a way you think about it more. I think. I mean, look, if somebody has a full life and if they die at 95, like George W. Bush or George H.W. Bush
Right,
did,
Stanley,
or they've had a great life. But when somebody young is taken, you never really get over it.
But thanks for sharing that, man. That was really nice of you to share that, and I'm really glad that before the tragedy happened, you guys got to share that experience together. And now you and the remaining of your friends, that probably makes it all the more special for you. So thank you for sharing that, man. That was really nice.
You got to have an annual watching party.
Yeah,
you have to have an annual where your friends have to get together until you all are 95.
That's great. What a gift.
Yeah, and then you have all your friends and relatives and the people that you meet along the way. They get to join in.
That's awesome. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here. Listen, don't forget, this show is on every day, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you come on back and join us again. Again, don't forget, send in your emails to me. You can find me simply at john@johncampea.com. That's the email address to send it to me. Robert Meyer Burnett, always one of life's greatest pleasures to have you sitting in a chair next to me. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you online?
That was very nice of you to say. I feel like I'm one of your friends and we should go see Tag now.
Let's go see Tag.
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett. You can subscribe to my channel, The Burnett Work, on YouTube to watch my show, Robservations, or listen to me on the Inglorious Trek Spurts podcast. This week we talk about the best Star Trek villains.
And by the way, you're going to be joining me on the John Campea Show again tomorrow.
I am.
And then another guy we know, a friend of ours, Greg Alba from Real Rejects. He's going to be joining me on. Reynos is a big fan of Greg Alba. Greg Alba from Real Rejects is going to be joining me on Thursday. So it's going to be a really great, fun week. Thank you guys for joining me. You can follow me on Twitter anytime, simply at John Campea. Make sure you come and join me there. That'll do it for now. My name is John Campea. And until our next video, guys, bye-bye.